Hello and welcome to our program. September will be a busy month for Pyongyang with planned visits by President Moon Jae-in and U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, as well as rumors of an impending visit by Chinese President Xi Jinping. We'll look at the prospects of each of these high-profile visits. Here's what this week's A Road to Peace has for us.
On this week's A Road to Peace, we assess how a series of high-profile visits to Pyongyang will affect denuclearization talks. We also take a look at North Korea's news broadcast featuring parents who have their sons in the military and discuss the meaning of reunions of war-separated families. Lastly, we meet a North Korean defector turned businesswoman who shares her newfound happiness south of the border.
For today's discussion, we're joined by Professor Choo Jae-woo of Kyung Hee University. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So there are reports that Chinese President Xi Jinping may have a visit to Pyongyang very soon to attend the celebrations for the 70th anniversary of the North Korean regime on September 9th.
Yes.
Do you think this visit will take place, and what does it mean to have this visit at such a time like this?
Yes, the speculation is it might happen. Most likely it'll happen. But at the same time, we still have another 20 days to go, and there could be a lot of things happening to change the schedule. But if it happens, I think it'll be really significant from two perspectives. One is it's going to prove the solidarity of the alliance relationship between North Korea and China, because they're going to celebrate together the 70th anniversary of the foundation of North Korea. So it's significant in that respect. But at the same time, on the other hand, I think it could be a politically really risky to China, because if Xi Jinping attends ceremony that will be accompanied by the military parade of DPRK's armed forces, then I think it'll include ICBMs and nuclear warheads and so forth. So it could also, in a way, shows that China's indirect approval or absorption of the nuclear status of the DPRK. So in that respect, I think there's a political risk to Xi's attendance to the ceremony.
And the United States won't be so happy about that message.
No, not at all.
Right. So also, if Xi Jinping does visit Pyongyang, or in other words, if China becomes involved in the denuclearization talks, it could really complicate the picture, right?
Yes.
So what country will benefit the most from China's involvement, and will it jeopardize or rather revive the denuclearization talks that have been stalled for a long time?
Yes, the biggest beneficiary will be definitely North Korea, because North Korea is being isolated right now against South Korea, Japan, and the United States on the denuclearization issues. Because all these countries first demand denuclearization and then economic incentives and compensations to North Korea. So that's a sequence here. But by China's intervention, North Korea is going to gain political support from China on its denuclearization demand and return from these three countries. North Korea wants to denuclearize itself, of course, but at the same time, they want to do it in different terms. They are taking a political approach, which is going to demand us to, double halt and double procedures. That's also the same demands that China has been making these days.
Now, there are also reports that U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo may have a fourth visit to Pyongyang coming up very soon as well.
Yes.
And on the other hand, recently, U.S. President Donald Trump also hinted at another North Korea-U.S. summit.
Yes.
Do you think these two meetings will take place?
Pompeo's meeting is going to take place, that's for sure. And he's alluded to what has been going on in the negotiations between his counterparts in North Korea and Pyongyang last time. So I think he's most likely to meet Kim Jong-un the next time he visits. But U.S. President Donald Trump has been also making a statement there could be a second summit meeting with the North Korean counterpart. So we'll have to wait and see, because obviously the United States is going to have a mid-election in November, and I think one of the top agendas for this election is U.S.-China trade war. So I think he's very much preoccupied with that kind of issues right now, but we'll have to wait and see.
If Pompeo visits, it might be something related to the big denuclearization game changer, a big deal that they've been talking about. What exactly is this big deal, and what will Pompeo be able to achieve through this?
Okay,
deal?
the big deal that he alluded us to the negotiation context the last time he visited Pyongyang. And one of the contents was that he demanded a list of nuclear facilities in North Korea in return for declaration of end of the war. I don't think North Korea is pleased with the idea of that kind of deal because, in other words, if North Korea turns in the list of its nuclear facilities, they're not assured of the United States not making a surgical strike or preemptive strikes on these facilities, but it's going to give an advantage to the United States because they would be able to locate all these areas and facilities. So I don't think North Korea is too pleased with the idea, but we'll have to wait and see what they're going to do at the next meeting.
Now, Pyongyang's event calendar for September is packed with various events.
Yes.
So North Korea is due to host President Moon.
Yes.
And also President Xi Jinping, if
Yes.
it's true.
Yes.
And also Pompeo,
Yes.
U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. But is North Korea capable of hosting all these events in a series, not just like in a gap?
Yes, if they can host all these meetings and ceremonies all together within a span time of a month, then that could be a smoking gun to all these rumors and doubts of, if the sanctions are really effective against North Korea, because obviously, we all know that, North Korea does not have the resources or the capability to host all these events, especially, the ceremony of 70th anniversary of the foundation of the nation, because it's going to require a large scale of military parade and large presence to North Korean people here. So, and the banquet itself, to be hosted by Kim Jong-un when he's meeting with Xi Jinping and Pompeo and President Moon, that's going to require tremendous resources here. So if all these events were to happen, then it could be a smoking gun.
Where would North Korea be able to get all these resources?
Exactly. So
consecutive
then
meetings?
we have to doubt that, if the sanctions are really working well or China is really being cooperative to sanctions.
Kim Jong-un, who will be hosting all these events in September,
Yes.
has said these sanctions are kind of persistent but also a robbery.
Yes.
Then what is he trying to get out of saying this at such an important time ahead of these meetings?
Yes, he's obviously, expressing his dissatisfaction in return to his commitment. He's made a lot of commitments at the summits with the United States, South Korea, and China as well. He's already made his commitment to denuclearization very clear, and in return, he did his follow-up measures, closing down the nuclear facilities, imploding the nuclear facilities, and shutting them down, and as well as now this, he hasn't gotten anything in return. Not even a lift of sanction. One single sanction was not lifted at all. So obviously now he's being put on the spot and he's under the limelight, and now he's utilizing it as, to voice his dissatisfaction against the United States and South Korea and China as well.
And we don't see any signs of the lifting of sanctions?
No, not at all.
Wow.
In recent times, we heard over the news that the United States has imposed more sanctions on North Korea.
Let's take a look at a short clip from North Korea's KCTV to help us get a better picture of the country's culture and society.
애우린 나무모 한 포기 한 포기를 정성 다해 가꾸고 차려오는 어머니들의 모습은 그대로 아름다운 꽃을 가꾸는 원예사의 모습 그대로였습니다.
작년에 아들한테서 편지가 왔습니다. 전 정말 힘들 적마다 이렇게 아들한테서 완 편지를 계속 읽고 다닙니다. 텔레비전으로 한 분대의 동무의 고향소식이 나왔다면서 우리 고향소식은 언제 나오는가 기다린다는 것입니다. 정말 아들의 편지를 받고 생각이 많았습니다.
푸른 숲 우거질 고향 땅의 내일을 그려보며 나무모 키우기에 자기들의 진심을 바쳐가고 있는 군 인민들의 모습도 찾아볼 수 있었습니다. 알고 보니 이들도 인민군대 후방가족이라는 것이었습니다.
우리 아들이 제대돼서 고향으로 돌아올 때 저 산들에 나무들이 꽉 들어찬 것을 보면 얼마나 기뻐하겠습니까? 그래서 이렇게 짬만 있으면 누가 시키지 않아도 산림경영서를 찾아와 나무 밑에 자란 김들을 말끔히 뽑아주고 있습니다.
오늘은 고향으로 보내온 맏아들 김광철 동무의 용의 사진을 내보이며 김광철, 김광일 동무들의 어머니 김금옥 동지가 아들 자랑이 여념이 없습니다. 우리 마지한테서 이렇게 용의 사진이 왔으니까 이제 우리 둘째한테서는 감사 편지가 날아올 거예요. 서서히서 날아온 아들의 기쁜 소식에 만 가지 시름이 다 풀린 듯 웃음이 떠날지 모르는 어머니의 밝은 모습을 김광철, 김광일 동무들도 보고 있겠지요.
I think South Korean parents who also have sons serving in the military will really be able to relate to the clip that we just saw.
Yes.
What is your reaction to this video clip?
My reaction is, my very first reaction is wow, because I never see such a entertainment type of TV shows in North Korea,
Right.
from North Korea, and I think North Korea, it shows that North Korea's broadcasting and entertainment production has also taken a new path. Although it didn't show too much of an interaction among the appearances, but now they're moving close to that kind of step, and I think it is also programmed by depicting the daily lives and the livelihood of the civilians, but at the same time, by bringing up the military issues here, I think they're also trying to raise the appreciation of military forces in defending their country.
Now, as we saw in the clip, the parents they missed their children a lot,
yes.
but imagine the families that have been separated for decades, because there are a lot of separated families in both Koreas who haven't been able to see each other since the Korean War, which is almost 70 years ago.
Yes.
So right now there is a reunion going on between the two Koreas, the 21st Inter-Korean Family Reunions. What do you think the significance is of this meeting, which is the first in 3 years?
Yes, that's right. It's the first time in 3 years, and I think it's very significant from 3 years ago. I think this time it is one of the follow-up measures that Kim Jong-un has made promise to his South Korean counterpart Moon Jae-in, and I think he's keeping up his commitment. I think he's showing his sincerity to his commitment, and I think it's one of the follow-up measures that he truly appreciates in terms of a humane sense. So here, I think he's trying to prove his commitment to denuclearization processes as well as humanitarian issues here. So I think in a way it's really significant.
Now, how is this reunion different from the last one in 2015 in terms of the situation on the Korean Peninsula and the atmosphere in the venue?
Yes, it is very much different because back in 2015, Park Geun-hye's government tried to utilize this occasion as a breakthrough in inter-Korean relations. Whereas this time, it is a follow-up measure to consolidate the commitment to these follow-up measures by both governments. So, in a way, Park Geun-hye's government was in a long stalemate in terms of inter-Korean relations. So they had to look for a breakthrough, and they tried to use this occasion as a breakthrough to improve the relationship with North Korea. But on the other hand, this government, that they're getting a return from the North Korea's commitment to this particular issue.
And they're really approaching this sincerely as something that can do for humanitarian purposes,
Yes,
right?
yes, indeed.
The participants for the reunions and the separated families who weren't able to participate are all mostly over 80 years old. They're very senior citizens.
That's right.
Now, I met some of the families who are participating right now, and they seem very happy to really be able to meet their families for the last time, but others weren't given the chance, right?
Yes, that's right.
What can we do to make this reunion something regular and that isn't affected by the political circumstances?
I know. We can overcome the age factor here because we had, to begin with, 56,000 separated families in South Korea alone. And over the years of 64, and we lost like 6,000 people here by natural cause of death. So we have about 50,000 remaining. Over the years, this is, I think it is the 21st or 24th reunion,
21st,
right? Yeah,
right.
21st. And every single time they limited the number of family meetings to 100 only.
Right, right.
So it didn't exceed 100 at all.
Rather, it was actually under.
That's right,
100.
that's right, under. So even if we hold it on an annual basis, it's going to take another 500 years for all of them to reunite with their families. Both governments, I think that they should come out in a humanitarian sense here and try to facilitate or institutionalize the family reunion, regardless of the situation developing in the Korean Peninsula.
Yes, it's definitely something that the two Koreas need to work together on.
Yes, yes.
Now, participants of the reunions are people torn apart by the Korean War. Another group of separated families in the South are North Korean defectors who escaped from the North in search of freedom. There are about 32,000 North Korean defectors living in South Korea who look forward to a chance to reunite with their loved ones back home. We will observe a day in the life of one of them, Hong Eun-hae, who runs a North Korean food store.
The number of North Korean defectors in South Korea stands at about 32,000, surpassing the 3,000 from 2016. According to a 2017 survey by the Korea Hana Foundation that supports the settlement of North Korean defectors, 14% of North Korean defectors in the South are self-employed, with the rate steadily increasing. We met with one of them who has found new meaning in life while running a North Korean food store south of the border. On a sunny summer morning, Hong Eun-hae rides her bike to work. After fleeing from North Korea to China in 2003, she first stepped foot on South Korean soil in 2006. She now owns a store specializing in North Korean food.
신선하고 싱싱한 걸로 이제 아침에는 다 바로 들어온 물건들이니까 새로 들어온 물건들로 아침 시장으로 보내죠.
Hong's food store opened its doors in 2016. It sells North Korean snacks and dishes both offline and online, where roughly 90% of the orders placed online.
아침에 와서는 이제 컴퓨터에서 이제 주문 들어온 거 이제 확인하고 청장 치고 이제 택배 보내는 일. 그게 이제 아침 첫 일과죠. 월병에 석봉.
The owner recreates the taste of home, carefully packages and ships them all over the country.
북한에서 즐겨 먹던 길거리 음식이라든가 뭐 잔치상에 올라갔던 음식들이라든가 전부 다 지급을 하고 있어요. 제가 다 만들고 있죠.
Hong's recipes are a rarity in the South. Regular customers are mostly fellow North Korean defectors, but the store also caters to locals. Hong shows off recipes for her signature dishes, starting with dububap or tofu rice.
이렇게 세모를 잘라가지고 두부 튀기거든요. 그래가지고 튀겨낸 다음에 이제 요거 밥 들어가게끔 이렇게 칼집을 내가지고 여기다 밥을 넣어서 여기에다 양념을 얹어서 먹는다고 해서 두부밥. 한국에서는 유부밥.
Tofu rice is a popular street food in the north. Tofu skins are rolled into cones, stuffed with rice, and topped with special sauce.
아주 감칠맛이 나고요. 제가 이거 보기에는 저희가 먹던 유부초밥 같다고 생각을 했는데 저희가 이 두부가 굉장히 담백하고 고소한 느낌 그리고 깔끔한 느낌이 드네요.
Another popular North Korean snack is sokdojeon or speed cake. It can be prepared within minutes without baking.
속전 속결로 반죽해서 먹는다고 해서 속도전 가루라고 했어요. 이제 3분, 5분 금방 반죽해서 먹을 수 있는 떡이라고 해서 찌지 않고 먹을 수 있는 떡이라서 속도전 가루라고 했어요.
The rice cake is made by mixing camille powder with water. Customers are amazed how a simple recipe tastes so good.
정말 인절미처럼 찰져요. 오 신기해. 아니 옥수수가 이렇게 찰질 수가 있네. 너무 신기해.
The modest dish with basic ingredients keeps them coming back for more.
진짜 인절미 맛이에요.
이제 저분들 같은 경우는 이제 한 번이 아니고 어쨌든 꾸준히 드시고 떨어지면 또 와서 사가지고 하고 하니까 고맙죠. 저는 항상 찾아주시고.
안녕하세요.
어떻게 이 더위에 잘 지냈습니까?
예, 잘
아유.
지냈습니다. 반갑습니다.
얼마나 부지런한지 모르겠네. 아유, 다른 데는 아직 가게도 열지도 않았네.
일찍 나왔어요, 저.
종류를 잘.
Koo Young-mo is director of the Incheon office of the Council of Democracy for Unification, an organization dedicated to raising awareness about unification. Koo has been the biggest supporter of Hong since her arrival in Incheon. He helped her transition into new life in the city. Koo calls for an open-minded attitude towards newcomers from the north.
그저 북에서 왔다는 것 때문에 차별이라든지 무시라든지 편견 이런 것 때문에 울고 있는 사람이 많으니까 우리 남한 사람들의 의식이 좀 많이 바뀌어야 되겠고.
As a proud mother of three and a business owner, Hong cherishes every moment spent at work and home.
우리 북한 음식을 잊지 않고 찾아주는 우리 고객님들에게 감사합니다. 그리고 행복합니다, 지금도.
North Korean defectors are no longer strangers, but neighbors with whom we live in harmony and peace.
In a broader sense, these North Korean defectors are also separated families,
Yes.
but they're not entitled to take part in the reunions.
That's right.
So I guess the defection issue is also a very sensitive problem for North Korea.
Yes, indeed. I think that they're treated as differently because there's a clear term to defectors and separated families. Separated families, these are the families from the Korean War. So they're part of the legacy of the Korean War. So obviously, you know, there's that. These are two different categories of separated families. So I don't think North Korea is willing to accept any kind of deal that has to do with defectors, regardless of, you know, not to mention the family reunion. So here, I think defector issue is very critical and sensitive to North Korea, not only in the sense that, you know, that they're being betrayed by these defectors because they deliver information and the reality of the North Korean society to South Korea. So in a way, they feel really betrayed. So defector issue is another different issue. I don't think they can be treated as a refugee or, you know, even separated family in the same category.
So unfortunately, they'll probably most likely never see their loved ones.
That's right. That's right. Unfortunately, yes.
Now, I think we can say that the North Korean defector that we just saw in the clip is
Yes.
living a pretty good life in South Korea.
Yes.
She's adjusted to the
Yes.
society and all. What is South Korea's support, or is there a program that helps these defectors really reform into the country smoothly?
Yes, definitely. It is run by this facility called Hanawon, and that is run by government as well as some agencies are deeply involved from an educational perspective, because, you know, all these North Korean defectors, they're from a different system, socialist system, and they try to adjust themselves to capitalist and democratic society here in South Korea. And obviously they had no educational background or background knowledge in this society. So Hanawon is definitely facilitating their learning and training in this process. But at the same time, this clip we just saw is one of the successful stories of North Korean defectors here. There are so many sad stories. Just like you mentioned, there are about 32,000 North Korean defectors currently residing in South Korea, but not all of them are having a successful life here. I don't mean success in terms of finance or their earnings or, you know, their jobs or anything like that, but just to make themselves adjust to assimilate to this society has been challenging to these people. And I think if you talk to them, one of the difficulties they have is they're being biased, prejudiced, by South Korean local people here. So I think government measures or policies should be not only try to educate and help them assimilate or settle down in this society, but also at the same time, they should promote the awareness or understanding of South Korean people of North Korean defectors too. And I think that's really critical, especially to the youth, because, you know, all these youngsters from North Korea, they would have to attend the same school with the local South Korean students. And I think there shouldn't be any prejudice coming from South Korean students against North Korean fellow students. So I think that's one of the critical points that, you know, the South Korean government should pay more attention to.
Professor Choo, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is all we have for you today. We will be back next week. Goodbye for now.